joined by our friend, as you can tell by the shill hat. It's got to be Terence Fugazzi from Avid Aqua. Used to be from some other place, but we'll let him tell you about that if he feels like it. Terence, welcome to Reef Beef.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it, and I guess it's my first appearance on here. I've not been granted the blessing of being on Reef Beef until now.
Well, to tell the truth, you were hiding for 2 years, and then you were under NDA, and not NDA.
No.
Your company was bought out, and then you were fired and told not to say anything for a length of time, or not to compete, or stay out of the business. That's what happens with big VC rolling money. And now you're free. Is that the case?
I'm not going to let you paraphrase me for possibility of anything that may come from that. I can give you my version of it, yeah. Which is, sometimes there are companies who then come together with other companies and bought out by other companies. And when they do that, certain people are shown the door. It's quite normal. And then they go on with their lives. And the person leaving, when they go on with their life, tends to have certain handcuffs that are on them if they choose to, but usually there's a reason that they choose to. And part of those handcuffs often are you cannot basically do products, develop, conceive, et cetera, that would be in competition with your prior company in order that you might get such just rewards. And that's the situation I was in. I left Neptune Systems in 2021 and piddled around for a little bit. And then I found I went to Magna in Milwaukee.
Oh, I remember.
What a good
the last
that
one
was.
The last Magna.
And I met my current partner, Ryan Snodgrass, who has a company you may or may not have heard of called Slide Lock.
Yep, Ryan has been very, I'm going to interrupt because we have heard of Ryan. We do talk about Ryan because Ryan's been very helpful in stuff for the Coral Spawning Project. I'm pointing behind me. I forgot I had a video on, but behind me in real life is the Coral Spawning, and there's a bunch of Ryan Slide Lock frag racks that he actually made some custom stuff for me. And you met him, and I'm sure you're going to get to this right now, which is why I don't need to have him make me anything custom anymore.
Yeah, I guess if your audience is interested, then from there, I had some projects that did not compete that I thought I could work on, and decided that he and I should work on them. And as we got closer to launch, he had those products that he was already selling, certain frag racks and things like that. And they're really cool. They had some very unique properties to them. And I was like, yeah, don't know if I'm really interested in being the frag rack guy. Because it's a lot of people doing it. And then I kind of noodled on it for a couple of weeks and came back and said, I think I've got a way that we can make this into a broader, more integrated product line. And from that came the Mod Mag methodology for magnets that Avid Aqua then designed, created, and moved forward with. And the real interesting thing on the magnets, and you can ask questions about this if you guys are interested, but there's nothing else like them in the industry, so I didn't want to leave them behind. And then fast forward, when we come back to that, I left behind my non-compete at the end of last year, sometime during the end of last year, and then started to think of how can I make the world better for people who were in the space that I was working in for 9 years, which is the Apex kind of space or aquarium controller space, and came up with the product that we're launching, the product that you've had for a while helping us test, which is called the Insight. So shoot away with questions, guys.
Yeah. So just the magnets, I think they're great. We've talked about them before on the show a couple of times, actually, because I think it's a great product. And they're just to have magnets that aren't crap that you can, number one, just use for whatever you want to use them for, which I do, is great. That's what the magnet side looks like. But it's part of a family of interchangeable doohickeys. I think that's what you call them on your website, the doohickeys.
Yeah, that is the official term. We tend to, have specific product names for each of them. But yeah, doohickeys is definitely okay by me. But we have frag racks. We have things like little travelers that you can carry your corals around in. We have a very cool probe rack that is
hold it back a little. It's in the dark. You're holding them in the dark. We can't see them. It looks like just a black square. Really? There we go. We can kind of see that now.
Well, Terrence, if you don't mind,
don't worry, it's cool.
Tell me what's different about the magnet, because I'm not sure that I know.
Oh, that's good. Good question, Dan.
Since I just knocked something else down behind me, let me go into it then. That's good. I'm glad you teed me up for that question. So most magnets on products out there are made out of acrylic and they're glued together around the magnet. And you guys both have been around acrylic long enough to know that when it's in water, it starts to take on the water. It changes shape slightly. Things like the bonds that are supposed to be like a solvent bond for two pieces of PVC, they break or they kind of shear, and then water gets in, it leaks, you get a rusty magnet. Sometimes you know it soon, sometimes you don't know it for months. Now with the Mod Mag, it's two pieces of ABS, not acrylic, that when they come together, they basically have this kind of thing from a profile, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're ultrasonic. What's that?
What he's showing for people who are not listening is he's showing that there's a magnet and it's got space all the way around it inside of its enclosure.
Correct. And then the two pieces of it come together kind of like a clam on one side and a little thing sliding into the other. So it's like a tongue and groove. I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. And then it's hit with ultrasonic waves, which melt the plastic on the inside, right? Not on the outside. And then it seals it together on those two areas. And it's about 500 times as strong of a bond as using solvent on ABS. Really? It just really seals it. So that's the first thing that's majorly different about the Mod Mag. The second thing is that magnets, I thought it was, well, that you can go to that one. Yeah. So you notice that is not a failure. That is how, if you were to get water into this magnet for some reason, it was defective or what have you, that magnet would likely swell up a little bit or sludge or something would happen where it wouldn't make that same sound. And so now this is a way that you can check that you don't have a bad magnet on your tank. Instead of waiting for it to leach out over a month until you see some brown stuff coming out or it expands out. But all of that is what Ryan had already before I met him. But then what I thought was kind of a waste is that you have this magnet on the inside, it does one thing. You have the magnet on the outside, it does nothing. Why not create a system where you can hang multiple things on the inside and multiple things on the outside? So you can have a frag rack on the inside, for instance, and you can have a camera mounted on the outside, as an example. And we make products for both of those. I liken it to, I don't know if you guys have been around guns much or not, but there's a thing called a Picatinny rail system on a gun. And it allows you to attach like flashlights and bipod and all kinds of accessories to a gun. And that's kind of the same kind of thing. You just have all of this universality, or Legos for your aquarium. Does that explain it?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So the magnet is sealed and you can actually hear if it's going bad, which is nice. And then I just like that you can use the same magnet and do a bunch of different stuff with it on the inside and the outside of your tank. And the frag racks you can add to the frag racks. Not too many. I'm glad, Terrence, that you guys did that, because it's like just for me and like two other people, but I sure appreciate it.
No, I mean, I should have samples here of that in front of me, but I actually just sent some to somebody and don't have my last samples here in front of me. I could run out to my garage, but that would be a waste of time.
Well, we were bringing you here to talk about the other thing. We've talked about the magnets a whole lot. So,
but it's a tactical frag rack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
That's good.
That is really good, man. That comes from your experience with that other product you hawked many years ago, right?
Well, no, not that. It's just what you alluded to earlier. I grew up around that.
I love tactical frag rack. I think that's fucking great.
Tactical frag rack.
Tactical frag. So here, I think the magnet thing is really a great thing. I like what Ryan was doing. I like what you're doing with Ryan more, because it gives more utility to something that's already there, Plus,
Right.
you can sell 1 billion of them for not that much money. So, and that's a hard part of this industry is because our industry is big, small. But if you have a product line that appeals and is affordable to a ton of people, it's you get more income, which allows you to actually look other directions. The other product I saw recently that not recently, for a long time, but he's leaned into it so hard is the tiny tanks that Harley's making at PNW. A tiny tank, and he's going to shows and selling them like hotcakes out the door, because you can buy a done thing like at a reptile show. You can go home with your reptile. Now you can go home with your reef. And so it's a great way in, and it's affordable. So is this. Now
it's also economies of scale. It's also economies of scale. So one of the key things about creating lots of different products that have a magnet on it, and what makes it hard to compete if you don't do this, is you now have to inventory all of those individually. Whereas we basically can buy tens of thousands of the Mod Mag and apply them to any product and package up any product as we wish. And so that's really a great advantage for, again, big, small in the aquarium industry. You need to figure ways to meet the market and to have economies of scale when you wouldn't otherwise have it because the market's small.
Right on. Which brings us to the ability to think bigger as well. The new product we're here to talk about. Why don't you, before I say anything about it, you say things about it? Wow, I do know it's sitting right here though, and my CO2 has gone up 150 since we started.
There you go.
Okay, go on.
So I come from Neptune Systems 9 years before I left the company. Pretty much every product that went through there, I had a pretty decent hand in conceiving and help, obviously bringing to market. And, that is how my brain just continues to work. And I was thinking to myself before I conceived of this, like, okay, where's the missing point right now in what's out there if you have an Apex? And for some people, it's not entirely obvious because they're like, hey, I've got a mobile device. What do I need something like that for? But I was thinking, I walked by my Nest thermostat and I'm like, oh, look, there's the temperature. There's what the temperature's set at. And then I went back into my room and I thought, wow, this is what somebody needs to have. There, of course, there was the original little display for the Apex, but
it's too small.
It's too small. It's out of date. There's all kinds of reasons. It's wired, all kinds of different reasons like that, that it's not the solution. I said, well, how can we come up with that? And so the Insight is exactly that. It's a display that connects wirelessly to your Apex on your local network, and it displays for you the parameters and information of what's going on in your aquarium, and alerts you to things that may be going wrong, on the way to going wrong, and has the ability, because we're harvesting data and looking at data, to have a lot more features in the future as we understand the data on every individual's aquarium and others in aquariums with AI. I know it sounds scary, but it is the world of how you really get to make a lot of stuff and give that to people through the Insight. And so that's what Rich came up with. That's what you see here in front of me. It's actually showing Rich's data from, I don't know when, maybe, I don't know. I've got an emulator here that takes Rich's data and puts it on my screen, or takes somebody else's data and puts it on my screen. So
it doesn't it's not like fully functional. It doesn't replace the display from Neptune, right? Like you can't like plug in the IP address. You can't turn on and off Wi-Fi. It's not that.
Correct.
It's just displaying data. Okay.
It still has interactivity. It's a touchscreen device. So it is not a configuration of your Apex device.
Okay.
Let's put it to you that way. That is not the intent. The intent is to better display to you the information that you'd like to see in a better way, and allow you shortcut ways to interact, like feed modes, or if you have key outlets that you want to turn off, on, and auto, kind of a thing. You can do all of that from there as well.
How do you get to the feed mode?
So if in the bottom left, there's a little play button.
Oh, it's there. Got it. Okay. It's I've got one. I love it. And I love it for what it is. You can see it from across the room. You can decide what is going to be on that screen. As you can see Terrence is better than Oh no, there we go. You can change which what's being shown on the screen. There's now 2 screens for it. You can trigger your feed modes. So for me, I have feed mode A, 3 feed modes. What is
3 screens?
3 for?
There's 3 screens.
3 screens. Oh, there's 3 screens, not 2. 3 screens of widgets, so you can put all your millions of dashboard stuff on there. But I use feed mode A to empty my skimmate bucket. Right? So when my skimmate gets too high, the Apex says, take the core pump and bring it down to 20%. So you're not producing more skimmate, but you're not off. And then it sends me an alarm and says, press feed mode A to drain the skimmate bucket. So now I can do that from here without having to pull out my phone. And that's pretty cool. Also, just the visual stuff is great. Just seeing it is nice. I mean, it's so nice for us who are constantly listening to sounds in our tanks, and our hindbrains are attuned for information we may not even be knowing we're getting in, but walking by and seeing the numbers that you want to see on an easy to see screen does this really calming peace of mind thing that
it's crazy that you mentioned that. That's exactly one of the intents, right? Is sure, you walk by your aquarium, you can look at it and you can always get kind of a sense, but you don't know obviously the numbers. But when you're in another room as well, you can have this kind of like, hey, I just worked on my aquarium. I've got a little anxiety. Where's the pH? Where's the this? And you don't always want to, yank your phone out of your pocket. One of the funny things I tell people is that if you're sitting there with your significant other watching a movie or something, and you just worked on your aquarium, the last thing they're going to want you to do is pull your phone out and start looking at Apex Fusion. But if you've got one of these sitting on a nightstand, or you got it sitting over on the end table, you can just kind of peek over and go, yeah, everything's cool watching the movie, and that's the anxiety, right? If you are a reef keeper, you have anxiety. There is no way around it.
If you do that too much, she's going to walk over, grab it, and throw it across the room.
that's a you have to. Go ahead.
You have to side eye it. You have to side eye it to get kind of like
just a quick.
That's why they're inexpensive.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know about having it on the nightstand. You'll definitely be looking at it at the wrong time.
Wake up at 3 a.m. and you're just like staring at it.
That's not what I was thinking, man.
We need a different readout for that if you're going to do that. So this thing is extra. You don't plug it into anything, but it connects to your Apex very quickly. I'm actually running it on a battery now. I want to see how long it lasts on the battery so I can just carry it around with me.
Yeah.
So I have like a 10,000 amp hour battery it's on. So we'll check that.
Oh, it'll last for a long time.
I tried to set up a tablet for this using Reef Tiles, and it was just a pain in the butt. It was just anything. It's so funny. It seems so dumb. Like, well, just pull out your phone and look at how could this possibly give you peace of mind? It's like, dude, I don't want to go onto the house because I have to bend over now. I have to kneel down. I have to take 3 extra steps. I'm not going to do a thing. So having a device that does that on its own is awesome. But the sexy thing about it is what's coming, or the ability to like trigger the feed modes. What else can you tell us about that?
So
activity.
So one of the things we also didn't touch on, and I know this is like shill central here.
We're shilling so hard right now.
I know, but
I should have bought into this company.
Yeah, no kidding, right? But I also believe in a lot of these things, as I did with Neptune, that I'm also, people want to hear about these things because they are helpful. You can make a decision whether or not how helpful they are, but to really be able to dig in, and I encourage you guys also to ask me even tough questions. It's okay. But the one thing we didn't discuss is there's really going to be 2 models of this. There's a base model and a pro model. And so the difference has to do with room environment sensors that the Insight has. And yours is basically the pro version. And for full transparency, Rich got it for free from me. And he's on the alpha team. He's got one of the most challenging Apex systems probably in the entire Apex universe. And so that makes him a great candidate. Look at him smile.
I got to tell you a Neptune support story before you go. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. So the room sensors are things that you think are obvious to begin with, which are temperature and humidity. But the next one is CO2, and we use an actual CO2 sensor, not calculated CO2. And this is really a lot more important for reef keepers than I think they've really paid attention to in the past. I don't know about you guys. Do you think there's an impact? Have you experienced an impact from CO2?
Seen it.
Well, we know there's an impact. All the discussion about bringing the CO2 media or outside air to your skimmer to lower the pH. We definitely have enough anecdote to know that if you bring non-CO2 rich air into your system that's in a room that is in a high CO2 air, you will help drive the CO2 off and lower and raise your pH.
Well, you remember Jimmy's party at Vegas?
Yeah.
Magna, and I was standing there with Jim Welsh, and he looked under the cabinet and was looking at Jimmy's pH in the tank, and it was like 7.6. And I was like, do you think that's correct? And we looked around the room. There's like 100 people in his house, and he's like, I absolutely think it's correct.
So yes,
and in it at Reefapalooza, when we launched this a few months ago, or announced it, I should say, when we set up, it was 650 on there, and it's right up here in the upper corner. But you can also show it in the widgets. There we go. So you can also show it on the widgets too if you want. But it was 650. By midday on Saturday, when the show was open full of people, it was at 2,700, which is insane.
That's really high.
Insane.
Well, that's one of the things I like. I have a CO2 monitor, but it's like I paid whatever I paid for it, and now it sits somewhere because I learned what I wanted to learn for me about CO2. But now that it's integrated into here, it's like, oh, now this is useful all the time, and I'll see more trends than I would. Also, by putting it on the battery, it means I can spot check CO2 in different places.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Yeah.
I move the unit to behind my tank. Well, you talk about my Neptune system being challenging. The rest of my system is just as stupid because it's distributed everywhere. So it's great for me personally because my tank is behind a full wall. Knowing what the CO2 is in the living room isn't really telling me anything about the tank, but being able to put this unit behind the tank for a day, all of a sudden I've got, the atmosphere that's directly impacting my system or any of the other tanks around the house. So I can see what's going on in different places, which is, more information can be very helpful.
Well, yeah, like your old carbon dioxide little unit that reminds me of like Alton Brown and like cooking. He always hated unitask equipment because you had all this equipment that can only do one thing, and you just have all this garbage.
Yeah. The CO2 thing too is, first of all, people should know that you can get a lot of different CO2 meters. Some of them super cheap, and they use a much lower cost sensor that they actually kind of calculate CO2. It doesn't really sense CO2. That's not what we're using in this. It's got basically a 2-channel CO2. It's a really good sensor. The second thing is, by having it in here, yes, you can see it and know that something's happening, but it's not built in yet. But at some point, you'll be able to now turn on or off an outlet, okay, based around your CO2 value. And this is super helpful if you want outside air. You can have a solenoid on the air input. If you want to run CO2 scrubbing media, it's very expensive stuff, right? So you don't want to run it all the time. You may want to only drive your CO2 down to, say, 850 or whatever, and that's good enough, and use your media only to do that. Well, that would also be a possibility. So, as always, having the information is the first step.
Right. So are you saying that you'll be able to turn something on in the future based on the CO2 number? So if I've got a fan like I do behind my tank that's constantly on to help with humidity and CO2, but it could go, you don't need to be on now. I can save you some electricity by turning you off because the CO2 level is low. That's cool.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's not in there at the moment, and it's not a big it's not a huge task to do that. And on top of that, there's other ways for us to integrate that data back into Apex Fusion, right? That would require cooperation, but we have had some discussions with Neptune Systems / Aperture Pet and Life about the possibility of that as well. So
that's fantastic.
Would that be a thing where you have to buy a new something, or that would be a thing you just update it?
You just update it. It would rely on them, pulling that information, us providing the API, so to speak, for them to be able to grab that particular information. So I can't speak to if and when they will do it at all, but the ability for us to make an outlet change, so to speak, based on the information is there as well without that. So that's really good. That's not the only sensor that's in there. There's also in there one that I don't know if Rich has noticed it or played around with it at all yet or not. It's called VOC, and this is volatile organic compounds, which what that basically is a digital nose. That's the best way I try to describe it to people. So if you smell anything that's coming off of plastic or off of something burning, or you open your car door in the summer and you get that smell, those are all volatile organic compounds, and they're all different ones. And so a sensor can pick up that something is different. It's not going to know exactly what it is. But this can be very useful. We don't know how useful yet. It's one of the reasons we're doing an open beta, among others, and why we have asked some interesting questions to the guys on the alpha team. But if you think about what you have going on under your sump, you have things like skimmate, which stinks. You have spawning things that happen. You have transformers that may be starting to cook off a little bit, and you get that kind of smell. They're not burnt.
Yeah, I was going to say, could it almost be like a fire alarm?
Yeah, we would never sell it as such because there's a liability associated with that we would not want to take on. But the trick here is not to have a sensor. Anybody can have a sensor. The trick is understanding the difference between normal and I'm concerned. And that's where the AI and the characterization and everything of everybody's individual setup comes into play, because we can learn what normal is, for Rich's tank or wherever he has it. And then we can know, like, okay, this is a spike that's not normal. It's 2 standard deviations off or whatever. And it's lasted for more than this amount of time. That doesn't usually happen during this time. We don't know what it is. Let Rich know.
Rich's tank backs up to his bathroom, so you'll be able to tell whether he's taking a dump or not.
That's right.
I know.
Where is VOC on this? Top left? I don't have it, I don't think.
Yeah, you just don't see it on there. So if you go to your phone and you go to configure, and you can set one of the widgets to be the internal sensor widget for VOC.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, things like candles lit in your room, air fresheners.
This will help. This could help with all kinds of stuff. Like, I have air outside, and everyone says, "Well, when the gardeners come," well, now I might know something about that.
It's quite possible.
I might know if I spill something, is the bleach smell that I smell.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure how you could work this, but like, as you know, Terrence, like, I'm in the maintenance business, and it's like, it's always been, not like it's a trope or something, but when you're troubleshooting, especially in a commercial space, like, one of the things you always wonder, like, did a maid spray something around your tank?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely the case. It's hard to know because, like, certain cooking things also can set it off, and there's a lot of different things that could be false alarms. So as I said, we're not promising anything out of the gate other than to say, hey, we've got a sensor in here. At some point, it could be very useful. We think the CO2 we absolutely know is the VOC could be useful on some people's and not some others. But at least it's there and you can get that information. It's funny because I was talking on a live stream with Mark Levinson yesterday, and he was talking about an incident he had where we're on this Discord channel for the alpha people, and our developer Joe had noticed something in the correlations that didn't look correct, right? Because we're looking for this. And so we asked Mark, hey, do something on your tank, or what's going on? Turns out he had people over. He had a cheese plate 2 feet from the inside.
Oh, weird.
It was picking up the smell of the cheese.
That's crazy.
I just sprayed this lighter at it. Just like I held down the trigger. I didn't, no flame for about 4 or 5 seconds. And it went from 150 to 1269.
Yeah.
So it's pretty quick acting. It's like,
cheese. Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
This is full of cheese. And let's tack that into the, other stuff. I'm glad you're saying, here's something we don't pay attention to. Maybe we should, let's find out. Is different than, here's these testing methodologies. We don't know what's actionable, and we don't know what our baselines are that are being sold in the hobby right now. And they're fun to play with and stuff. But the question we keep asking is, how do we know what's actionable and what's realistic? I mean, even if you look at phosphate, the hobby is now coming along with raising their numbers, but it's not 0.03 to 0.07 anymore. It's below 0.15 or 0.2, which is great. So it's great to be able to set things like this out there and then get a bunch of data and then go, what matters and what doesn't matter? What did we think would matter that it turns out, wow, it just turns out that didn't matter so much all.
Richard, I was gonna call you out on that, because you've always, and I agree with you, but you've always been grumpy when it's like, oh, now we can test this, so now people give a shit about this all of a sudden.
Right. So, well, people will do that with this around VOC, but that's because a lot of times putting something to counteract the VOC up is cheap and easy.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Like, don't spray WD-40 in the room with your tank. Maybe that's a good idea not to do. Maybe it's not. I'm sure Big Reefing is coming out with a VOC, like a dehydrated silica gel that will absorb the VOC. Somebody will come out with that and sell it.
There's VOCs. Idea. Quick, turn the fan on through the, what is it going to be now? A VO. Hey, do you guys have the VOC reactor?
The Avid Aqua VOC
well, that's why it's not surfaced there on the front, Rich, as like a number, right?
Yeah.
It's available, but CO2, we understand. We understand that it's not good. We understand the correlation. We understand mitigation for it.
Right.
And so knowing that information, knowing what it could do, and knowing how to deal with it means it's valid, right? So
yeah, and now all I know is that a normal VOC from my lab is about 162. That's what I know. I don't know what that number means. And I also know if you spray a lighter at it, it goes up and it comes down within 5 minutes.
It's just a fart detector.
But one of the interesting things is that, I mean, there's a degree to that too, right? So if something happens and it happens for 19 seconds, right? And it's two off standard deviation, you might go, oh yeah, who knows? So we're not going to alert on that. But let's say you're that far off and it's now 18 minutes.
Right.
And we've never seen 18 minutes of your TVOC that high. I kind of want to know about that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And when is when is this thing coming out, and how do people get one? There's a beta coming out. You're having a purchase beta. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. So, we've developed this now to the point where we're kind of at the final mile, and we want to get some more data from people. We want to make sure we didn't do something stupid, which, we went with some of the hardest Apex guys out there to try to test that stuff, and we found some things, and we got those dealt with.
Yeah, that was really cool to be involved in the alpha, by the way. And the way they did it was, here's the unit, do stuff, no instructions, just press buttons, and then stuff came up, and it was like, oh, I feel really useful, because sometimes in a beta it's like, I'm just using it and here's the numbers, but betas are cool too. Alpha is a whole nother keg of fish, though. It was really fun.
Yeah. We just tossed stuff out there and said, yeah, use it. And part of that's for the user experience thing too. Is we're super proud that everybody that we've given these to, especially the later versions of them when we had more user experience stuff, set up, they were just like, it just worked. I took it out of the box, I plugged it in, and it just worked. But the beta the open beta is going to be a for sale beta. It's going to be direct from us. We're going to have a couple hundred units. We are, it's going to probably be announced and available to people within 2 weeks for sure. It might even be within a week. It's hard to say. Our final parts are coming in a day or two. And, as long as that happens, till it happens, you just don't want to say. So who knows what's going to be. But there's two versions. As I said, there's a base and there's a pro model. In retail, the pro model is going to be $199. The base model is going to be $159. And we'll have 20 to 30% off of that probably for the open beta. So expect it somewhere maybe just around $100 or something for the base unit, and maybe somewhere around $150 for the pro unit when they do go for sale.
Yeah.
That's
so now
cheaper than I thought.
Right. And so now just having this thing here that I can do the feed modes on. And if people don't know, the feed modes are essentially the built-in virtual outlet for the Apex. So you don't have to do anything to make them happen except put code in it. And as soon as you do that, this unit now has 4 buttons you can push to make whatever you want to have happen on your Apex system happen on your Apex system. No phone, no anything, just it's right there. That's really cool. It sounds
I always
stupid,
tell people,
but
yeah,
it's
I always
not.
tell people for if you have somebody watching your tank that you can have a couple of those where you have some stupid thing for them to do on, on feed mode, C or D, and you just say, hit that button, hit D, and then throw in the food or whatever it is. And it's super helpful for tank watchers.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the expanded on that, and I can't wait. What I was getting at was, as it stands now, I think this bit of kit is really awesome to have, and I can't wait till I can get a couple more around the house because I need them I have different Apexes, so I need but that means here in the lab, I need one that shows the display Apex and one that shows the lab Apex, because I have both of the Apexes are wired to this room and I want to see what's going on with different things. In the other room, I just need one by the display tank, and I might want one under the house. They're just super useful. But when what we think might be the enhanced usability comes in the future, not that I want to, say that the future is the best thing in the world. The possibilities of this thing in the future make me really, when you started this, I had a bagel
for sure
with you, and I was like jumping up and down in Noah's Bagels.
Oh, that's right. When I showed you the first idea last year,
I was like,
I'm going to take this display and I'm going to turn it into something awesome. And there was nothing yet at all.
There was nothing.
But yeah, the other thing too with the multiple Apexes is we're trying to find where the limits are for the hardware and everything. So having multiple Apexes be accessible by one Insight is definitely possible. We're not going to completely understand how we restrict that. So Rich has a 47 module Apex or something like that with all of this stuff on it. Having 2 of those and have access to whatever you want might not be doable. So it might be this hybrid between how much stuff you have over the course of 2 Apexes or 3 Apexes that might be the limitation.
Yeah, but so on it, you could switch between Apexes, right, on your unit. Right now, sure. I could say, tell me which one. But that's as annoying as opening my phone. I'm not ever going to do that. But the price point on this is, oh, wait, if I want to see 2 different Apex screens, that's easy. I just buy 2 of these.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonably priced. This is part of what I do for a living, is try to create products and find the right price point for people, and still be able to make, a living, right? I know there's some people out there that think you should do this for, charity, but you still have to find a way that you have to pay the man who's going to sell your product, 35% or whatever. And then from that, you got to put your own R&D and the cost of the product stuff into it. And then you still have to be able to take money home for mom. And then to do that and have the widest appeal, I think this price point is perfect for that. And there'll be look, I don't care about the haters. They're like, oh, I could use a tablet and it would cost me like $75. Yeah. Okay, good. There's a valid point to using a tablet. Sometimes it's not this.
Yeah. Well, but also, that kind of discussion is always interesting. Should I buy really, hobby grade Kalkwasser, or should I go out and find Miss Wages? And, it's like, yeah, if I want to pay $5 extra for, 50 pounds of lime that I know is already hobby approved, you get off my back, who cares?
Right.
But buying a tablet, and then you have to set up the tablet, and then you have to maintain that. Look, I've done this before, and it sucks butt because the tablet's not made for what you want it to do. This thing is just what it is. I don't want the possibility of being able to watch Netflix on this device. I don't want that.
Also, I've been around some aquarium products that do use those cheaper tablets, and the on a cheaper tablet, whatever programming they have for the tactile response will make you want to jump off a building.
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
Hey, is it possible for Reef Beef to get 1 or 2 units to raffle off or something?
Absolutely.
Or to raffle off is a thing. Yeah,
we can do that. Absolutely. So you guys come up with however you want to do it, and we'll make it happen for you.
Awesome.
We love all these. We love all the different podcasts and everything out there, and all of these aficionados, and we want to make sure we give back. To have some fun and have an opportunity to get free stuff. Who doesn't love that? And
this is like the first free stuff we've done, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We generally don't do that because we're lazy, and that's not what the show is about.
Yeah.
But what we'll do is we'll get into the member section of the Discord with some hoops to jump that will be Reef Beef-esque to get an Avid Aqua Insight for the open beta.
Whoever eats a quart of ice cream the fastest.
Yeah.
If you
create a separate group on Discord or whatever, just send me a link or whatever, so I don't have to go searching for it. And then if anybody have any questions or anything, I can go in there and answer those as well.
Okay.
And give them any kind of feedback that they need to understand. Like one of the things we didn't mention is this does not plug into your Apex. If we didn't mention it before, I forgot about that. It
not
just
wired.
plugs into power. That's it. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty slick.
And it just receives maybe through Wi-Fi the signal to get the information.
Exactly. So it connects. So every Apex, this is, by the way, for those of you in a more general education kind of thing, if you're looking at any kind of aquarium product that works with your mobile device or an app or what have you, they're not all created equal. You guys might have heard about the demise of the Reef Factory company. They had kind of a distributed line of products that were all only cloud-based. There's been many others that are like that. That one that never launched with the little dial of sensors on it and stuff, and that became a brick for everybody. And so having cloud-only devices is not a good idea. You want to be able to have something after the company goes out of business. And that's one of the nice things about the Neptune product, because it has a parallel universe that lives inside the device. That's parallel to Apex Fusion, which is the cloud version. And so the Insight actually accesses that local version. So even if your internet goes down or Neptune systems were to go away or something, it will still work with your Apex as it connects locally.
It's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, everyone. So we'll let you go, Terrence. Drinking beer in the morning. That's good.
It is not. It's Skimmate. Come on now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Schemate. Terrence, thank you for your time. I'm glad you got back into thinking about products, because your brain is very good about thinking about products for this industry, and we need that. Thank you. We'll let the beefers in the members section of the Discord know about this giveaway, and that's how you get involved in that. And other than that, we'll check back in with you soon, because there's more stuff coming. Thank you so much for being here, Terrence.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, all the beefers out there. Have a great one.
Oh, Terrence, before you go,
yeah,
I just wanted to tell you about my stupid Apex system. So I had a dose. I had a dose that, vanished and then came back as another module. So So all of a sudden the module that it was is still there, but it's not working anymore. And there's a new dose module that does work. So it ghosted and made its new one. So this has happened a couple of times with the dose quiet drive, and they replaced one before and they replaced another one before. And now it happened again. And I was like, what's the deal? And they're like, okay. And they're very nice to get back to me. And they go, okay, for this one, we need to know where the dose is plugged into. It's like, okay, it goes into this EB832. And then they go, okay, we also need to know where all of the wave pumps and what they're plugged into. I guess because it's a one link thing would be my only guess. And it's like, oh God, on the rack behind me, which you can't see, you know, there's 2, 4, 6, there's 8, and then there's 2 in the room behind it, and then there's 2 under the house that are all on the same system, and I have no idea which one link, which is plugged into doing what. So I've got to actually trace all this down because they say they need that information to help troubleshoot the problem. So I think that sounds crazy to me, but I need to do that anyway. So I'll get to it, and they've asked for it.
So let me try this from a different angle. So the whole Aquabus methodology, which is OneLink has Aquabus built into it as well. Okay, that whole methodology was designed originally for a certain number of nodes and a certain kind of architecture, right? And it morphed into being able to take on more and more and more, and at the same time also different kinds of like multiple star networks, right? Of Aquabus ports, and for someone with an Apex Aquabus network, so to speak, like yours, it's pushing the limits quite far in terms of the potential damage or confusion or all of these different things that can happen. Now, I understand that much better now probably than I did, say, in the middle of my Neptune Systems tenure. But that is kind of the root of a lot of these dilemmas that people have, is because I've done them myself. Like, oh, cool, this thing just works. I'll plug all of these things into it. Woo! And then it's like, oh, no. I know that you can plug all of these things into it and it will work. But if something goes wrong, that's probably why it's going wrong. And I'm like, oh,
okay.
Well, that's...
So it's just like anything else that you pump too much information through. Sometimes it goes, so now
it has to do with voltage levels, so voltage levels have a big deal to do with it, right?
Yeah, so, but that's why I love having one links in there, because I ran into this problem when I was setting up the what to do in a power outage, right?
Yeah,
because my system is so big and distributed, it gets problems sending the Aquabus power everywhere it needs to go. Or at least that's what I'm told. So
my suggestion, if I were on the outside,
if
I were on the outside for you now, my suggestion to you would be looking at your entire setup and going, okay, I've got 2 Apexes running it right now. How can I split this system up to have 5 Apexes running it?
I was going that direction. I was literally about to go, since I've been running 2 Apexes for so long, and it's just not a big deal to look at the 2 Apexes. Perhaps I should throw on a couple more Apexes and just take the lower the water on the one side of the dam, as it were.
Yeah. I think that would be the beginning of, well, at the same time, you don't have the possibility of one thing really when it goes awry for whatever reason, causing an issue to everything. That's the positive byproduct on that, is that you've divided things up so that if and when you do have an issue, only 1/5 of it has a problem instead of 1/2 or 2/3, depending on how you have it distributed.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I can give to your viewers / listeners that I've often told to people, but people keep not listening, is on things like your dose, right? That can work off of one link, unless the one link is a one link box with its own power supply where you could do this. I would run a separate power supply to your dose on anything that you're doing where a runaway pump would create a nightmare for you. So this could be you're dosing, you're dosing your 2-part, right? You are doing a water change, automatic water change or something. You have a sensor that can tell you something. So your pH level, let's say in the tank. And so all of a sudden your pH level is spiking past 8.6 or 8.5 and it never does. You just cut the power to the dose, right? Send you an alert, right? And this is something that a lot of people don't do. And I recommend, it's great to have the one link and it's super handy because you don't need to have the power supply. And I get that. But at the same time, this just gives you another level of security.
So you would plug the dose into the Apex as well and have that. So you have like a double, if the dose is supposed to shut off at 8.1, but if it gets to 8.2, the power goes off and you're cascaded. Correct. Okay. That yeah. I can definitely do.
Or on a water change. Let's say you're doing automatic water change or whatever. You have a water level sensor, right? And one of your pumps either stops working, right, for whatever reason, or you get the alert, right, as normal you would, right? But if you have one where it's just filling, and your sump level is going way high, you just go, you know what? We don't know what the deal is right now. It's way past like when my return pump, stops and it goes up. It's now past that. Okay, shut the dose off and give me an alert. So it's just that level of security.
That's good because I do water exchanges on small tanks with doses. Actually, I've got 2 doses on one tank now because I wanted more of a turnover. And I'm about to add a high switch, and I'll look at a high switch and another EB832 plug as the extra safety. That's good.
And your high switch would just be an optical sensor?
Yeah, I've already got one on there that almost never works because the intakes of the dose pumps are below the optical sensor. So as long as the pumps that are pumping out of that cube are working properly, the optical sensor never gets touched. But they're cheap enough and it's smart enough to have a second optical sensor above that first optical sensor. It's a $30 failsafe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you don't want to spend that much money, I mean, because it's a high and it's always out of water, even a float switch, right? Going to the switch input, they're never going to get wet. So they're going to be as good as they were new. And it's not as easy as using one of those, FMM type optical sensors. But I throw it out there to people because
you need to break out the box.
Don't want to spend the $40. You can spend the $3 and get a float switch and still get the same benefit.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. Good information. Good planning, troubleshooting. And I like the conversation because it went all the way around about what and why and how, and, is it necessary? That's all up to the end user. So there you go. All right. I'm going to say thank you again to you, Terrence. Okay. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll look forward to what comes next.
I will, man. I will. Thank you.
We're still waiting for Terrence to figure out his camera.
He just wants to be heard and not
figured out. I just don't want you to see me yet. I'm putting my clothes on.
His transformation.
So are you, man? What's up with the witch, bitch?
I'm trying to get my hat to go completely off of the camera. But it wants to bend over and then it feels more witchy that way.
You look like an orca. Last year I was giving out candy out of my van during my election campaign, and one of the other guys.
That's the best sentence I've ever heard.
You need to, Terrence. You just stopped
in my life. Okay, so do you guys like the shill hat that I'm wearing?
Yeah, I love it, man. I love that hat.
Or should I wear this for the show?
That creeps me out a little bit.
Can I do both?
Do you sound nasally?
Do both.
You sound like Larry David.
Schemate,
is it an oat schemate? Terrence and I did a podcast for a while called The Skim Mate, and it was really fun. So
yeah, that was sort of pre Reef Beef,
pre Reef Beef. They're still out there. They're really fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, see you later.
All right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Anytime now.
Anytime.
Oh, is he gone?
Oh,
yet?
I could kick him. I'll kick him.
Yeah,
kick him out.
Kick me. I have to figure out how to get out of here first.
Like this. 1, 2, 3.
Alakazam.